So we are really excited to talk about farmers markets today and how we can launch them and also leverage farmers markets and farm stops for more economic vitality type activities. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panelist here today. Carissa is the founder of Ozarks Farm Stop in downtown Springfield, Missouri, a producer-led retail and community space connecting over 90 local farmers and food producers directly with consumers. She brings more than a decade of experience in farmers markets and local food systems, where she has helped grow regional market networks to over $2 million in annual sales for producers while supporting more than 100 small farms and food businesses. She currently serves as a president of Missouri Farmers Market Association and as a farm business counselor, working directly with producers to build viable, scalable businesses. Chris's work centers on strengthening local economies through practical food system infrastructure, including farmers markets, farm stops, and community-centered retail models. Jamie is the executive director of Warrensburg Main Street, an accredited Main Street program that has been serving the community for over 30 years. She was born and raised in Warrensburg, where her passion for downtown began as a daughter of a local business owner. She earned her Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from the University of Central Missouri in 2016, and she's been with the organization since 2019, serving as executive director since 2024. Over the past 7 years, she has supported the transformation of the Warrensburg Farmers Market from a vendor-led market to a fully staffed program while planning events that drive traffic to small businesses and position downtown Warrensburg as a destination for residents, visitors, and prospective new businesses. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jamie for her to share her presentation and her time with you here today.
But good morning. As Ben said, my name is Jamie DeBacker. I'm very proud to be here and represent the Warrensburg Farmers Market. I'm also really proud to say I'm a part of the Missouri Farmers Market Association board, where I met Carissa, and really have expanded my knowledge and resources for our farmers market in Warrensburg. So we'll kind of touch on that a little bit, but what I really want to kind of get into is a little bit the history of our farmers market. If you already have a farmers market in your community, but it's not under the Main Street umbrella, it's perfectly fine. I want to give you some tips and tricks a little bit about how you can maybe collaborate and how you can make it a benefit for your own farmers market. But just to give you a little bit of background, so the Warrensburg Farmers Market actually is celebrating 30 years this year. So we just had a 30-year celebration last Saturday at our farmers market. It was established in 1996, but it was really just ran by market vendors. The Counts, who is now Buck and Heather, who are the third generation, are one of our staple vendors, but the Counts family is the one who actually started the farmers market in Warrensburg in the early 1990s. It was really just a group of farmers and community members who really wanted to bring local goods and make a gathering place in Warrensburg get started. So they really kind of had that opportunity whenever they talked to the Johnson County Commissioners and allowed for them to set up on the front of the courthouse lawn. So our farmers market was just maybe 10 vendors, local produce farmers, a little bit of baked goods, maybe some crafts, but it was really ran truly by just community members gathering together who had the similar purpose. Much like Main Street, that's how our Main Street organization got together, was our small businesses wanted to make and improve our downtown. Farmers market got started the same way. Main Street's role in that was really just supporting and marketing the farmers market. Our market was ran by market managers or masters at the time, which were the farmers markets, which were the counts for our organization. So our farmers market has shifted throughout the years. It was a Saturday and Wednesday market. Saturday has been a staple for the entirety of its 30 years. It's always had a Saturday market. Wednesdays have kind of fluctuated. So I kind of included some old photos of, you can see that we, have always had the same mission of creating a gathering place with music, with including local produce. But our market also was allowed to have that Wednesday market for 2 hours as well. So that's kind of fluctuated throughout the years. But that partnership really came from our farmers in our community, our Main Street directors at the time, and then our city officials and our county officials, all working together to truly be a cohesive organization together, to know that they are creating an opportunity not only for small businesses, but for a place for people to want to come into our downtown. Your downtown's the heart of your community, so why not try to gather that more people in down there. So we did have a winter farmers market for many years as well. It actually partnered with our city municipal center. So we actually don't have a winter market in 2026 right now. We just have one winter market that would pop up with our Christmas event, Dickens Christmas. But previously, our markets managers at the time worked with our city municipal center to set up every first and third Saturday from December to April. So at that time, we were having a year-round market. Obviously, we were much smaller, so we had the same amount of vendors at our outdoor market and we did at our indoor market. But that partnership and having that collaboration with the city allowed for us to have a free space for us to use two Saturdays a month, and it allowed for another opportunity for our farmers and our vendors to set up through during a time where typically as a farmers market you fall off whenever the warmer season comes along. So creating those opportunities and creating that collaboration of whether that's your community center or your city municipal center, or maybe you have somebody in your downtown with a vacant building that you can maybe use that space to continue on your farmers market because they're an economic drive to your downtown. So our farmers market didn't really take off until 2016, 2017. We received a USDA grant, which gave our organization quite a large blanket of money, which allowed for us to kind of invest into our farmers market a bit more. We were able to hire interns to run our farmers market, and be able to kind of take away that management part that our vendors were doing for us and kind of put it into the office for Main Street. So we had that grant, but then COVID happened, as my photos show you, which actually lengthened our grant. It was supposed to be a 3-year grant that kind of turned into a 4.5-year grant, which allowed for us to kind of stretch that money and kind of see how we could continue to operate as a farmers market. So here I decided to throw some pictures of our 2020 because this is where it really kickstarted from us. Our farmers market really from the early 90s, 2000s was anywhere from in the front of the courthouse. We moved away to our church parking lot that we had a partnership with them that was still in downtown, but right on the outskirts. We maybe had 20, 25 vendors on regular, but we weren't really like going past that. We couldn't like get over this hump. Well, when COVID happened, our farmers market was the only open air market in the area and was really the only thing that we could operate and do. And so we were seen essential. And that's what kind of kickstarted the marketing and really like the grasp of, wow, farmers markets are more than just, oh, they have vegetables. So in 2020, obviously we did a lot of social distancing. We were starting to spread around the courthouse lawn and around the square because we needed to have 6 feet around people and more space. And so we kind of started to realize at that time that our market could grow larger and that we could use more space. And after 2020, our market went from 25 vendors to 45 vendors, and we have those seasoned vendors that came consistently after that. Um, this is a picture of our moonlight market of getting things set up, but we now go around completely around our courthouse square. Um, so before when the market just started, the very front of it was lined with vendors, and now we have over 67 vendor spots that are taken every week. And we utilize every spot. Our courthouse right now is being in construction, so we could probably have an additional 20 spots to come. But we've grown so much more than just being place where you can go buy produce. And I think we've taken a lot of pride into that. Our farmers market not only is seen as a place that you can buy fresh and local produce and goods, but it's now where we have kind of started to celebrate more about our small businesses that we can engulf in. We still keep our farmers market in our rules and regulations where it's handmade, hand grown, or it has to be 100. Like, we don't do any like t-shirts or like mass product opportunities for our vendors. But we have crafters who are pottery or they're artists, or now we have food vendors who are some are farm to table where they use our local vendors to make their meal for that week and make their menu. Um, but it's a draw now. We've considered that for so long. Whenever I was, just an event coordinator and before I took on this position and joined the MFMA board, I thought farmers markets should just be farmers markets. That's what they're meant to be, is to be a place. Well, I've changed my mindset because they're such a local draw for our community. Without the farmers market on Saturdays happening in downtown Warrensburg, our businesses who are surrounding there would see a significant decrease in sales. They would not see that foot traffic. We have now turned into a center point of community gathering every Saturday from 8 a.m. to noon. Um, Last year, whenever I did a poll to our small businesses, I saw a 20% increase on farmers market weekends versus them not being in downtown on that weekend. So we have held on so tightly, do we wish we had a covered pavilion or an indoor market? Absolutely. But we know that the moment we take this opportunity away from our courthouse square, that foot traffic on that main street we have is going to decrease significantly. And so we've tried to just continue to build up our farmers market and see the value in what we can do. There's a lot of different ways that you can plan a farmer's market. With us, we love Canva. That's what we do. There's Manage My Market, which we'll kind of go a little bit into with the MFMA board and some of the perks, but there's a lot of different programs that are out there. But for us, we just haven't had that. Our farmers market hasn't made that consistency for us enough to know that we need to be that big. I think we're right on the brink of it, of knowing that we have these vendors that we're managing. But I'm lucky I have a staff, Chloe, who's our program coordinator who oversees our farmers market. And every week she makes a map. So I decided to include this in ours because it's something that you can simply do. If you have a quick little sketch drawing of your downtown, we've easily went out there. This is actually before we expanded all the way around the courthouse, but we went out and we measured 15-foot spaces. And then for the first few weeks, actually marked them out. So our farmers market vendors would get noticeable. But this is just a simple way that you can organize your farmers market. You don't need any programs. You don't need to pay into anything right now. If you simply have a farmers market and you want to get it started, a simple map is all you need to do. We've learned that we've tried where it was first come, first serve, and then people get a little particular on their spots, which is a great thing for them to have. But this kind of has more organization. This allows for us to have more control over our farmers market, and we're able to, differentiate our vendors. When we have two microgreen vendors, we can put them on opposite sides of the farmers market. Um, we have a lot more control as well of knowing what vendors we can and can't, how much spaces that we have. So we can be a little more picky with our farmers market, but if you're just getting started, it just kind of helps you have that organization. So every week, our farmers market manager will have a list of all of our season vendors. Our applications are through our website. We accept season vendors for us until the end of June because for us, it's an opportunity for us to make it worth their while. If you break out our season vendor fee, it's only $7 per weekend, which is actually a steal for a small business. So we want them to make sure that we have the opportunity for them to grow their own business and their name, but also benefit and be successful. So we like to see this as well as a kickstart to the rest of the farmers market and kind of what the opportunity they can have for potential growth. So every week we put out a graphic that tells you who's going to be there. If we have any one-day vendors, so we also allow that as well. We invite our nonprofits or community groups to come to have that opportunity because why not continue to have a place of gathering for your community where everyone, can draw different attention and different crowds. So our farmers market today has grown. Like I said, we have over 54 season vendors now. That are signed up this year and it continues to grow, but we have expanded to having food trucks. So we have kettle corn to Guamanian rice every weekend. We have a oven fry or fired oven for pizza. We have burgers. We have breakfast sandwiches. I mean, you name it, we have it. We also do a ton of our theme days behind our faces over there, but we have, our opening day, but we'll do different events now that will attract new customers. So we just did a global our 30th celebration, but we have Global Wellness Day coming up on June 13th, where we're inviting a lot of our community assets of letting people know about health and how your local produce can be a benefit to you. We're going to have yoga, we're going to have massages, we're going to have different groups who can come in and talk about the benefits of mental health. So we're kind of shifting our way through our farmers markets that are normal to being about how we can draw more attraction and more people to our farmers market than just people who want to show up, get their couple tomatoes and leave. If you have more activities, there is a study that shows that if it's kid focused, whether that's we have bubbles every weekend, which as an adult I love. But we have games, we'll have a couple of kid craft areas, but if you have a family who's coming in, the kids are more likely to want to sit there and hang out for an additional 30 minutes than for the parents just to walk them around and move on with their day. So we're trying to create that the opportunity for them to stick around because then next thing you know, it's lunchtime. Well, then they're going to go into our small businesses and grab a bite to eat and make it a whole day in downtown. Or maybe they're going to go jump into the coffee shop and hang out for a couple of hours to cool down from the heat of the summer. So there's just ways that you can create opportunity for your downtown, but as well as your businesses. So I do have two success stories from our farmers market because it does show that having a farmers market is just the first stepping stone in a brick and mortar. Green Track Bakery, who has actually been a vendor for many, many years at the farmers market, Carmen and Carl, they opened Green Track Bakery and they were doing it out of their backyard and they just wanted to they had a love for bread and pastries and they wanted to have a business, but they didn't know how to get started. So they actually started with our farmers market and they actually still continue to be a part of it in 2026. But they created that and they realized that out of such success that they were ready to take that next step. So Main Street was there as a partner to help them move along. We worked with our Economic Development Center to have an opportunity for them to kind of look at a business plan. And then they opened Green Check Bakery in 2018. Now in 2026, they actually have expanded to being Green Truck Delicatessen, which is their son and daughter-in-law who now have taken the bread they've been making from the farmer's market to their bakery to being a full-on deli sandwich shop. So now they're creating even more opportunities. So now they have two buildings in our downtown. The Delicatessen does sell set up every Saturday with us, and they're selling their pastries and their breads and their granola mixes. But it's just one opportunity that you can show that just a small start and seeing success of your small business or of your farmer's market can grow into the opportunity for small businesses. On my other side is Moonlit Petrichor, who has started in 2020 with the farmers market. She is a animal cruelty free, vegan, no dye soap and candle maker. And she started off just as, a vendor at the farmers market for several years. In 2022, she expanded to her first brick and mortar, which was on one of our side streets. And then it since then has grown into one of our houses, which is right on the outside of our Gay Street, right where our farmers market sits. And she has been successful. She did unfortunately have a fire this past February, which showed our true support of our community and rallied up. And now she's back at the farmers market. She's partnering with other businesses, having her soaps and everywhere. So she's still being a successful market vendor, but also a brick and mortar for our organization. So obviously, with our farmers market, there's a lot of longevity, there's a lot of history to it. We have a lot of supporters, but if you're looking to just get started, you just need a group of like-minded people. And I think that Carissa can also hop in on this whenever we get to the Missouri Farmers Market Association portion of this. But you just need a group of people who have the likeliness and the same mindset. So maybe in your community right now, you have a farmers market who is not operating under Main Street, and that's perfectly fine. Are they adjacent to your downtown? Are they somewhere? I would encourage you to have that collaboration because a lot of the time they just want to have that ask. They just want to have that opportunity to know that they have support from someone. And I'm not saying you need to and put it underneath your umbrella, but I am telling you that starting that collaboration will then maybe draw into your downtown if it's not already, and then you can help by just having a little advertisement. Maybe you're putting A-frames out that says farmers market today. Maybe you're helping them share it on your social media. But that is just a small step to helping create because I know our downtown and our organization has thought many times of, do we really need a farmer's market? Should we be over this? Could we give it to another organization? But at the end of the day, our board always reminds ourselves that without the farmers market in downtown, our foot traffic, our success of our small businesses would be nothing compared to that opportunity. And I think that shows a lot. Our long-term goal is to have a permanent farmers market spot like Carissa has in many other communities. We have an opportunity. We have a great relationship with our city and our county. Our county donates their land to us every week so we can have yoga or use their power or just kind of have that space as a gathering. We have challenged our city as well to work the farmers market into our contract with them. So we are fortunate to have a contract of services that allows for um, Warrensburg Main Street to oversee the farmers market, but we get around $3,000 from them every year to help support the farmers market. And that's just the start of it because we come with them knowing that if you didn't have a farmers market in our downtown, you wouldn't see those sales tax that are going straight back into our city's revenue. So there's a lot of perks and there's a lot of ways that you can work with your community and with the collaborators. Maybe it's your Rotary Club, maybe it's your YMCA. That you girls can partner together because we not only open our doors up to vendors and farmers, like I said, we invite nonprofits and community groups because we want them to have the opportunity to be a part of our downtown community to see how great our foot traffic and what the opportunities they can have for their own organization could be. So I did include some information. So I'd like to invite Carissa to talk about the Missouri Farmers Market Association. This is kind of how we both kind of got on this call, and I think we got invited into this opportunity is to allow for us to kind of talk a little bit about the Farmers Market Association. Like I said, I was just the event coordinator, and the farmers market was really never in my mindset whenever I was just the event coordinator. It wasn't until I turned into director to see how much opportunity the farmers market has because it's more than just an event. There's food safety, there's safety in general. How many people have had a car go through their farmers market? I know I have. So we have a really great organization that allows for us to kind of work together and provide resources and policies and kind of just be a support to each other.
And I just want to say Jamie is such an amazing, obviously, market manager with the Main Street program. But Jamie, I hope everyone on this call gets a sense of like what she just said is incredible, right? You started with a small group, you've taken it all the way up. And I mean, for any Main Street program on here that doesn't recognize the activation that a farmer's market can have, I mean, I'm going to come at this from economic empowerment. And I saw your success stories, but I can name half a dozen to a dozen small businesses that started at a farmer's market that then absolutely are looking at some of those, I'll say it, abandoned downtown spaces that you all are trying to activate. Okay. Like I know what Main Street programs are about. They're about bringing economic vitality and re-empowering and reactivating spaces that often, sadly, have been left for the suburbs, and strip malls. So I say that with a lot of respect for downtown and Main Street projects around this state and around this country. I encourage you, and we're going to talk about the MFMA, but I encourage you to think or to widen that lens and think about economic vitality. So in Springfield, we have several markets, but one of them is the one I was lucky enough to be the director of for years. And it went from, in 7 years, about 100 vendors and $850,000, which sounds great. It's a year-round market, but to 2.1 million. Okay, 2.1 million is even better, right? By more than double. We did expand a few more vendors, but not double. Okay, just to be clear. So what we actually did is made the pie bigger. Some of those are the very people that then kind of scaled up to where they thought a brick and mortar might be right for them. What's very cool about a farmer's market, though, is that in your towns and communities, you get to help people decide what the right level or fit for them might be. I love that Warrensburg and Main Street is smart enough, Jamie, to recognize that you could be given some gorgeous pavilion out in the burbs or something. It's at a compete to what you're trying to do for Warrensburg, Missouri. Okay. Like, which is, I mean, I wish you had a beautiful pavilion or something too, but there's got to be a way to find both. And I've seen in a few places like in Louisiana, the state, not Louisiana, Missouri, where they'll do a hybrid. Like in the winter, they'll take over some buildings in a downtown to do winter markets, and then they go back outside. And so, there's lots of creative ways to think about what is a farmer's market. And I think at its essence for the Main Street people on here, A farmer's market is a place, a gathering place to bring together small businesses. It is a place of inclusion and fun. And yet it should primarily also keep your head around money, because all the farmers, and I joke, Jamie's heard it too many times, but like they don't just live in their mouse houses, they have to make money too. So they have to come to a place, get that traffic, which is where the music and the yoga and the food trucks and all of this. I will say this for small towns that might be on here. I'm sure you've seen, you might have a lot of artisans and you're losing those produce people. That's why a lot of farmers markets start with some caps or something, because if you have no produce at your market, that's a different problem. Okay.
Right.
And if you're just like, Carissa, Jamie, we don't have any producers. Well, I would challenge you. You definitely do. You're in Missouri. It's about bringing them in. It might even be that you help subsidize them to get there initially. It might be that you cap how many initially can be there. So there's lots of ways to think about a farmer's market, I guess is what I wanted to say. This little map on here is certainly not exclusive, but it is a start of what we have. You can see Boonville is on that page. Go Farm, I'm not sure, that's in West Plains. Is that the largest farmer's? Yeah, actually it's outside of West Plains. So I don't know, Jamie, if you want to go to the next one.
Yeah.
The little, yep. So MFMA, by the way, what is it, Jamie? $50? It's super
It's $40 a month for a membership.
for a year, not per month.
Yes.
Per year. So $40, guys, and you're
Yes.
supporting. I was like, not a month. No. So it's a very affordable, low cost thing. Okay. So what you gain membership to something. We have these monthly calls. I will let you know, we decided a few years ago to open those up with everyone. Okay. So we, I don't know if the Main Street, I don't think it's exclusive, but we just went, you know what? We want to be open source. We want to share resources. We want farmers markets to have as much support as possible. So we really do focus on, I say the administrative, but like the manager side. I'm sure everyone in here has been to a great farmers market, and then somebody's probably been to some market. They're like, wow, that was a little chaotic. Jamie, even thank you for bringing on your market map. It seems obvious, and yet those are those little things that at the beginning can really make a difference. And I hope I don't hurt anyone's feelings, but like Neosho, Missouri, they are on here. They created a map that's like a horseshoe, if anyone can see me. So the first person is, because they don't have a set amount. So the first person's here, and then if Jamie came, she'd be here, and then Ben, you'd be on the other side, and they kind of go out so that if 5 out of the 20 people show up, it doesn't look like a swap meet. Do you see what I'm saying? Right? Like, so they've embedded, and I meant that as the, like, we don't want it to look like a swap meet. We want it to look like nothing wrong with the swap meet, but we want it to look like a nice space. So when you think about markets as a amenity to downtown or to a space, and to enhance the very businesses, those small businesses that are there, you're curating it. You're helping to do that. And that's something that can really help, especially, I'm going to say, with like a Main Street group, which is you already are trying to activate something, right? So taking a step back and thinking about group dynamics, flow of traffic. Again, what happens if your top 5 vendors no show because it's raining? Well, you don't want it to look, you want it to still feel full in essence. Okay.
Right.
And I just share that with you for some of you that have markets. This is where some basic rules and regulations are like positive, can be really thoughtful. And if you haven't, there's some really easy things, such as, again, I go back to that horseshoe or that map that can really save you a lot of heartache later when people get very territorial about, but this is my corner, or this is, where I need to be. That said, the Tuesday talks, first Tuesday of every month. We started them more than 3 years ago. And every first Tuesday at noon, the variety of topics we've had at this point is extraordinary. Next Tuesday, first Tuesday in July, we'll have people from K-State talking about market findings across Kansas. And if you're like, well, how does that help me? Because they've done a lot of research about farmers markets, and they have a lot of data that can kind of underscore what we're talking about. Statewide community, we connect with other market managers, vendors. We do training with managers and vendors, and we do have sample policy, vendor applications, signage guides. And at those Tuesday talks, we share a lot of resources. We also do, and I would recommend if you're thinking about it at all, we do a conference. It's a third like weekend in February every
The
year.
last weekend of February.
Or
Yeah.
last weekend, yeah. And so I can't recommend it enough. I went to my first one after having run a market for a year or so, a successful market, and I thought, oh, I could have shortcutted so much time and learning here. We rotated around the state so that you get a chance to see different places. So like I'm in Excelsior Springs. We're going to go to their farmers market here this afternoon. I'm here with a growing group and I'm excited to see it. I know it's small town. I'm very curious to see how theirs is set up on a Wednesday afternoon. Um, the this next year will be in West Plains in February. So 2027 will be in West Plains. 2028 will be in Sedalia. In 2029, I think it's looking like we'll be in Kirksville, Missouri. So it's a cool opportunity to not only see other people how they run it, but to really get with like-minded sized vendors. So we typically break in our conference into like small or beginning farmers markets, mid-sized, and then larger. And so I just share that with you. Is there one more page here? And I kind of wanted to talk
Yep.
about economic development. Okay,
It's just more our website and about how what the organization is, and it's not really a sale about why you should join our membership. I think it's just there's so many resources, and that's something I've learned by joining this board and being a part of it. I'm really thankful for Lori and Joplin, Ashley, and Ivy are the ones who um, connected me with Carissa and kind of got my mindset on the farmers market way, because it's just there's so much more information, and there it's just like how Main Streets are. We are an R&D organization. Like, why continue to recreate the wheel whenever there are so many other markets who may be like-minded in your same size of population or in the same amount of vendors you have, or your setup is the same? Why not connect with each other to then use each other as resources of saying, do you have a copy of your application? I heard about supplemental forms. Like, let's talk about what benefit of that is. So there's just so many different ways that you already have the resources. And I know farmers markets, it's like putting on an event every weekend, let's be honest. It takes some staff time, it takes a lot of heart, it takes a lot of marketing, it takes a lot of mind every day of going out and knowing that you're putting on an event to make sure people are safe and that it's successful. When you have a support group that's much like Main Street, that's just focused on the farmers market, why not take those resources and have it as an opportunity for your own?
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. And that's
Yeah.
exactly it. It is an opportunity to talk, to learn, but also to not, I love that you said not reinvent the wheel. Again, if I hope I didn't hurt anyone's feelings, but like back to just the basics of a market map. If you're just setting up camp, posting up on some street, it doesn't immediately jump out to you, right? Until a year later, when now you've got kind of like, these people don't want to move, this doesn't. So I share that. I think one thing I'd really like to talk about and emphasize with Jamie is, again, economic like vitality. Um, I go back to that $2.1 million. That's in 5 hours a week. When I said that to the economic development person in Springfield, Missouri, which is a reasonably sized town, he did a double take, right? And I mean, let's be honest, $2 million for a business in a decent sized city isn't even a ton, but he had no idea, right? He had absolutely no idea that, and 2 million is nothing to sneeze at either. It's like when you think about 2 million spread out to small businesses, many of our farmers and producers, we talk about added value, people that do like honey or jams, things like this. That for our market, $15,000 to $20,000 extra they can make, in addition to their teaching salary and their spouse is a farmer or whatever they do. It's really it makes a game changer. And I think, Jamie, it's like there's two ways of looking at this. If you're a Main Street person who isn't yourself an entrepreneur, it is just a big event. You're pulling together an event. But what's cool about it is you're pulling together an event with small business people who are typically very motivated. They're not the kids sitting on their phones scrolling, because they're actually motivated to sell their bobo tea or their friendship bracelet or their jam. Okay. Like, and I say that like kind of in a silly, snarky way, but it's true. Like, like, so at a farmer's market, people like them because people engage with people, because the owners are almost always there, as opposed to you feel that they're doing you a favor to pour the cup of coffee, you know? So I say that it's sort of like hurting that energy is wonderful, but it comes with its own challenges. So I encourage you, if you're going to your towns, not just your main street, but your actual communities, economic vitality and investment in small businesses is the real hook, if you will. If you're trying to sell a farmer's market, we can talk about all the other brilliant things, which is community and collaboration and connection. These are absolutely important, and there are ways to track the value of those things. By the way, there are like asset maps that can go being healthy and around humans. It absolutely has value. I want to make sure everyone understands that. But sometimes farmers markets only get in that, it's like pigeonholed over there. That's all they are. In fact, they do this other really, really important thing that's easier to monitor, to understand, and they monetize people's potential success. What I love about the small business aspect is that, Farmer Jamie in this story might think that a farmer's market is just great and cute, but then after, waking up at 5 and loading in, Jamie realizes that she doesn't like mornings or people or downtown, and she didn't sign a brick and mortar. She didn't sign, she's not under a lease agreement. And then the opposite, she realizes that she thought the asparagus was going to do great, but actually nobody bought it. They just loved the rutabaga. And now she's, has developed this whole other business thing. So what's fun about a market is that community part, but also workshopping in a real, like data testing what people think is going to do well versus what actually maybe is working there.
Well, and I think, Carissa, you also are also in the break of what also the opportunity that can has to happen afterwards is maybe they aren't quite ready to jump into a full business. Maybe they're not ready to take on that overhead of, rent and then staffing and all that. Well, then there's opportunities where you create with your business owners because likely they're walking down to the farmer's market to grab a morning banana bread or coffee or, something to start their day off because they know that they don't open their doors till 9, but the market starts at 8. They're creating those connections as well. And then they're also saying, well, so and so has a really great candles. Maybe I can have them put their line in my business. And so then you start to create these small pockets of vendors and opportunities where they're, you know, maybe a little dabble in this business and a little bit in this one. Well, then that can start for them to have more opportunities as entrepreneurs and these storefronts where their names out there and they're like, well, I love them. Oh, they're at the farmers market every Saturday. Well, they're also located in Myers Market or Magnolia Market. And then from there, they're also thinking about, okay, it's been 3 years. I have really great sales. People continue. I'm selling out. Maybe it is time for me to make that next step. So I think it's really just the kickstart to starting a true brick and mortar business. But not everyone has to jump to that success afterwards. They can stay right in that lane of where they're interested. Because
Well,
like you said, some of them are part-time teachers, or maybe they're police officers during the day and by night they're bakers. So
and
there's
also
just an opportunity.
And also, I would say too, I've seen a lot of go from farmers market, no surprise, to a downtown space because they were familiar there, they were used to it. And then I would also say that I have some very large, successful businesses that their brick and mortar is the farmers market. So they distribute to all these places, but where they post up is once a week at the farmers market, and they have made that's a lifestyle decision, right? So that's a hard, long day, but that's where they engage with people. That's where you can find them. And there's a wisdom in that too, depending on what your business person's preferences or how their life is kind of brought together. I've seen people go from market to a brick and mortar, then realize they were tied to a building 60 hours a week and come, even though they were making money, but then come back to market because yes, they made less, but they gained 45 hours a week. Do you see what so right? Like it's a really interesting thing. And again, to downtown activation and markets, you've got these soft things of like community and coming together. I would also say what's fun at a farmer's market is you can, I loved your yoga and we've done mental health awareness, things like this. So you can bring in, I was just talking to somebody, a market, I can't remember which one, but they're a like kind of a community gardens society basically, and they set up every week at that market, talk about growing. It's like sounded similar to extension, right? I will say for our markets we don't allow canvassing, like politicizing either way, but for example the Women League of Voters is there registering people, and that's a pretty clean line, which is, again, though, if you're thinking about these things, there's just some basic rules or agreements that can help it from becoming highly politicized or something. Like literally a few sentences. What I just said is one. Like, so it's very easy to just go, oh, so sorry. On that note, though, back to local politicians and community members, if we have people that would like to come in, they're running for office or this, you know what we do? We tour them around ourselves. Like we literally give them a tour. So they aren't setting up. It's different. We're showcasing what we do as opposed to them setting up and flyering and handing stuff out. So I share that, you know, for small towns too, or small communities. I was talking with someone yesterday about getting their insurance subsidized by or sponsored rather by an insurance agency that's downtown. And so that, you know, made sense. So there's some fun, interesting ways to think about this. I just encourage for Main Street people that are on this call, really, there's so much data on our website, on the National Farmers Market Coalition. If you can get your head around the economic impact for a Main Street and activation of downtown spaces or spaces that you know, are wanting to be activated, that's where that magic synergy happens. And it could be, you know, out of hundreds of markets we've talked about, Jamie, I'm going to a Wednesday market today. I was talking to someone in Craig, Missouri. They do a Saturday night market. There's lots of ways to do this. And then, yeah.
So I think many communities think farmers markets are promotional type activities. You know, you're coming together, you're bringing people in the downtown area, but as we've kind of been discussing here today, they are truly an economic vitality activity. It is a business incubator space where many times vendors are coming to the market to see, does anyone even like this product? Is this something that maybe I can put product into other stores like we talked about, or maybe potentially open up my own brick and mortar? And so while it is a promotional activity, you're bringing people into the downtown area, it is so much more than that. It is, you're bringing economics vibrancy to your downtown, whether it's you're supporting those vendors that may be just testing out their business, or you're then going to get a cup of coffee, or you're going to shop at another business, or going to a restaurant afterwards. And so it is such an economic vitality type activity just as much as it is a promotional activity. And so that's really one thing that I really want to distill in you today, to hammer home with you, is that it crosses multiple points of the Main Street spectrum. Farmers markets do.
It's a great way too for your volunteer empowerment too. I mean, people who love the farmers market will love to help make the farmers market happen. We've created a committee on our side that helps plan our fundraising. It helps us plan our theme days. It helps us think about promotional items, because sometimes it's hard just for us as staff to, you know, think it through and how we're going to make all that happen. So if we have people who are like, oh, I love going to the market, but I wish I had a bag, you can start to get them to be more empowered about not only Main Street, but about your farmers market too. So
and then the ability, Jamie, I love that you're so candid about, like, I thought it was this thing, and now I actually realize yoga and, you know, kid vending day, the things in towns, like where the fire trucks come out. There's so many low hanging fruits for particularly for, I'll say, for like Main Streets versus a super rural population that's trying to do this, right? Like, so you've got some built-in infrastructure through your own connections, which is amazing. I know that I was introduced with the Farm Stop. And for those of you who don't know, a Farm Stop is essentially a farmer's market in a retail space. I'm not here to pitch those. I'm just letting you know that in Springfield, we had the 19th one in the US. There are at least 20 more opening around the United States, as several in Missouri. I know Rowan's on here from Web City, Scott from Neosho. They're looking at Joplin is the Empire Market is a very beautiful, successful market. They are a Main Street program. They are looking at shifting or modifying to have basically a retail space. So if this were Farmer Ben, Farmer Jamie, and Farmer Carissa, there'd be a little staff there aftermarket who is running basically a brick and mortar, kind of as that incubator through. So there's some interesting stuff happening in that space. And then on exactly what you said, Jamie. Maybe you realize like your soap or whatever, it's really great at this beauty shop, this little local grocery store, and then you're also working with a boutique or a farm stop because you're scaling in a way that you know your main space is still possibly the market. Or again, I know I jump around on this, but I've seen it go every which way. I've seen people go, absolutely, farmers market is all I want, and then actually realize where their money is more in boutiques or whatever, and they only go to artisan markets, you know, once a month or something. And I've seen the exact opposite, where they thought, markets aren't for me, but in fact, they come back to market because their dedicated audience there is so strong that even when you account for rain days, remember, I always say this, 1 in 4, 1 in 5, but sometimes 1 in 4 markets is a bust because of weather. Okay. And your farmers and your producers have to know that going. I mean, they do, I promise they figure that out. But what do you do on those bust days? Well, hopefully that's where some of these events and things like this can help build out that infrastructure. Because if it's kid vending day and it's kind of overcast and raining, I promise you parents and stuff are still going to go. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
We host our dog day during Memorial Day weekend because we know we're home a man's best friend.
yeah.
How can you not bring your dog down to a dog day at the farmer's market? Even if we're going to the lake that day, I'm gonna go down there and make sure my dog is seen at the farmer's market and gets their picture taken. So it's helped us like you think about your foot traffic as well. So how we're doing our theme days is very strategic now.
Absolutely. And you know, tying it into, again, we have winter markets. So we do like a Valentine's, Palentine's. People come up and make letters of gratitude and what have you. It's just fun, kind of a grown up make your own Valentine for friends and family. That's a cold February, folks. Okay. And we get people out doing it. You know, whatever you think of Valentine's, it's just like fun because we've made it inclusive, right? Mother's Day, of course, you don't have to do much except have a farmer's market on Mother's Day, but the traffic we see on some of it's usually around graduation, as I'm sure people know here. So some fun ways to like low stakes create, if not an event, energy around coming together.
Krista, can I ask you to maybe talk a little bit about the space that you have for your farm stop though? Because there's some markets like ours that like, for some of them are busting out or some of them are just getting started. Some are like, we're full where we are, but we want to make it a next step. We want a farmer's market full time around, but we don't have an indoor space for pavilion. Maybe can you talk about how you got into your space?
Absolutely. So the farm stop was a response to my farmers saying, I went when kind of surveyed, 70% of them would like a brick and mortar, but they didn't want to run a brick and mortar, essentially. Okay. So I started looking around for what does that look like? Sometimes it looks like a co-op. Well, that's a whole other thing, right? And I learned the word farm stop. So a year ago, February, I went to like the second annual farm stop conference. And it's important for me to say this. It's not a franchise, guys. It's a concept. Okay. This is not, I'm not upselling anything. The joke is if you've seen one farm stop, you've seen one farm stop. They all have a little different flavor, but they are all very producer forward, right? Food and producer forward, mission aligned. And the big difference is that the farmers keep 75 cents on the dollar. The farm stop takes 25%. That means our entire operating budget is out of 25%. So if Ben and Jamie sell $100 worth of stuff, we take 25. That's how we pay our staff, our utilities. We back to downtown and main streets. We have a creative lease agreement with a building that had been long left open in downtown Springfield. It's a 10,000 square foot building. So we pay our share of insurance and, obviously utilities, things like this. And then we do a percentage of our sales. I've been told like, how lucky are you? I'm like, I know, really lucky, but depending on the downtown, the people, they're successful owners of property. They didn't want a bar in there. They wanted something community led and they wanted food in a otherwise not food area in downtown Springfield. Local healthy food, I should say, like not just a gas station or something. So we were able to assume that space. We started in 2,000 square feet. We're only 8 months in, guys, and we've already taken down a wall. We're almost to break even in our 8th month, which is impressive. If you know anything about break even we are not a nonprofit. We partner with nonprofits, right? We did that for speed. And when I say speed, literally to get in and get this going. So the building that we have is now pushing back. It has, and it will have an incubator space for cottage law bakers. For those of you who don't know, cottage law are like if you make cookies at home, you can sell them at the farmer's market. Still has to be labeled and ingredients, but you can sell them. You cannot leave them with me, though. You'd have to go through a commercial space, right? And so we've got that commercial space. We've got dance classes, literally basket weaving classes. Every Thursday, we do what I joke is the TED Talk for farmers. So someone talks about, tallow products. This week it's foraging. Next week it's, someone, there was gardening with disabilities or for small spaces and plant starts. So every Thursday at 6. So we're open 6 days a week, 51 hours. We have over 100 producers in there now. Some of them do a few shifts here and there, but mostly it's our core staff that they come in. So it's a very interesting model. Data suggests there's 12 years of data on the first 18 farm stops. Places that have strong farm stops have good farmers markets. Places that have good farmers markets, maybe first, I should have said, have good farm stops. And it's because you have those people who want to take their tomatoes back to the bus day, right? What do they do with them? Well, they feed them to their pigs is what they do in Missouri. Or in this story, they drop them off and we often can process them up to restaurants, local, like kind of do seconds for some of the people that maybe make jams, salsas, things like this. So we're able to utilize that. So it's very much tied to economic, rejuvenation with small businesses, but for us, it's also tied around less food waste, and sourcing that food, and also giving farmers a reason to put seeds in the ground, because Farmer Ben and Farmer Jamie don't want to go with their little sad basket of chives in November and sit outside for 5 hours. It's really cold, but they would come and be a visiting vendor in the farm stop or leave their stuff there. So, I share that with you. It's an interesting model, and it's for us, it's been really great to get me downtown. We sell to a lot of the local restaurants down there, and I can tell you back from my farmers market, we were really embraced downtown because Jamie, your success story, they've seen it. Some of the other small businesses downtown are actually 100% some of the people that you kind of indicate scaled up. They went, oh, like your green truck bakery, right? Like I can see that success story. I know that success story, even though I don't know that one. I'm like, oh yeah. Then they realized they had audience, they had demand. It made sense for them, especially as bakers, to establish a space. It was an adorable cafe. They found their way there, but probably at day one of a farmer's market, they didn't have, I don't know them, but probably the tools or the talents yet to have established a successful cafe, and they got there through that incubation, through probably a couple of years, I would guess.
And then I wanted to do just a last minute plug too, for the Missouri Farmers Market Association too. There's a lot of great resources that come out of it. If you're interested in starting a farmers market for the first time, or you're looking to pivot, and so make sure to tap into their resources. If you, like I said, if you're wanting to start a farmers market, or you're looking to pivot like they did in Warrensburg, they pivoted a lot of different times depending on the economy and what people were saying, and as they were seeing interest decline, they wanted to ramp that back up. People as part of this organization have seen all of that and can give you ideas. There's just such a plethora of resources that come out of it. And so I wanted to do just one last plug, to, at least you said those Tuesday talks are open to anyone, correct?
They are open. And if you go to our Facebook or Instagram, we usually put a reminder there. You register for one, we send that, but we're not posting all the time on Facebook and things like that, but we always put a reminder there. And it's an easy way to follow us. And we definitely do try to put agricultural updates or grants and things there as we can, but we absolutely talk about those every time we do a Tuesday talk. So it's a great opportunity for that economic development part.
As we're kind of winding up here, just know that there's team of people and resources behind you, no matter where you are at in your farmers market journey. There's, as I was kind of reading off those names at the beginning, that's a wide swath of people that I know are interested in running farmers markets or have been doing farmers markets for decades. And so be sure to tap into some of those resources that are readily available to you. But with that, we are at 10 o'clock. And so Jamie, Carissa, thank you so much for joining us here today and for giving all this great information. This YouTube, this video will be available on our YouTube channel once we get it actually processed through. But with that, everyone have a great day. Be safe out there and try to enjoy the weather before it gets rainy again. All right. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank